Hey everyone, welcome to my Safety Fucking Day presentation for 2024. So, who am I? My name is Tony Burke. I'm an AFF instructor and an SNTA, as well as a rigger. And for the past couple of years, I've been doing these Safety Day presentations in person where I use a lot of swear words to hopefully be entertaining and talk about some safety issues and just generally try to help the safety culture in skydiving. So I thought I'd put it on the internet. This is a mashup of a couple of different years of presentations. Some of the best of the it's like a clip show for Safety Day. So let's get started. So skydiving is pretty fucking safe considering that we're lobbing ourselves out of an airplane. So how did we get that way? Now, safe is a relative term. I think it's Dan BC that said skydiving is a dangerous thing that can be done safely. And I agree with that. Safe is a relative term, and skydiving is safer than it's ever been. We have really low numbers of injuries, given what we're doing, and which is pretty fucking cool. So what made it safer? How did we get to that place where it used to be much more dangerous, it used to be much more risky? So how did we get there? And there's like three things that generally have made skydiving much safer. We got better fucking gear, we've got better fucking training, and we've got better fucking procedures. But there's no skydiving you can do where you can't fucking die. Let's talk about some of those things. And right now, just keep in mind that we are the most dangerous thing. The gear is good, this training's good, the procedures are good, and most of the time when in any kind of aviation thing, it's user error, it's human error. So how do we avoid that? And part of it's attitude. So, for example, we've got better gear. We've got the 3-ring system created by Bill Booth, and we learned from the mistakes of the past. It was a lot more dangerous in the past, and we learned things like don't fight a malfunction, just don't delay, cut away. We've got RSLs, we've got MARDs now, and we've got all this gear, all this training, all this wisdom that we've learned from skydives in the past. And then some people don't really take that to heart, though. So here's some dumb shit real skydivers have said on the internet. There was a question posed to a rigging forum on Facebook, and it was a reasonable person asking a group of experienced riggers what they should, what kind of gear they would need for a wingsuit. They were approaching 200 jumps. They really wanted to do a first flight course, and they wanted to do it the right way, which I applaud them for. They were asking about, do I want, should I get a MARD, etc. And there were some great answers in that forum. For example, an RSL or MARD's a good idea. Risers with a hard cable housing. So some older risers, it's just a cloth channel. So the cutaway cable that goes up into the risers goes up from your rig up into the risers. You tuck it away in that little housing. Some of them are cloth. So if you have a really bad line twist and it goes to the risers, you can actually pinch off the cutaway cables and make it very difficult or impossible to cut away. But the newer risers, most of them now will have a hard cable housing. So even if there's a really bad twist in the risers, you can still cut away without being impeded by that twist. Long bridle, wingsuit bridles, you can do that for slick jumps too. And a larger canopy, you want something with longer lines and more forgiving of bad body position. So all of these were good answers. And then someone decided to flex a really dumb way. So someone said, I've never used an AED. And I responded, okay, neither have I, but I'm glad it's in my rig and it's turned on. I've got 2,000 jumps and I've never had an AED fire. That doesn't mean I won't have one my next jump, so I'm glad it's there. And they responded, let me rephrase, I've never had an AED in my rig while wingsuiting. And that was really fucking dumb. Are you fucking kidding me? So why is this stupid? We've got the gear, we've learned the lessons. So why are they so obstinate about the wisdom of the past? These are an AED is a really good idea. So with wingsuits, closing speeds can be very fast, very knocky outy. Dresses, okay, fine. Wingsuits like to eat handles. Can't find your reserve handle, can't find your deployment handle. Some people are surprised when they jump a larger wingsuit. and the pressurization on the wings is much higher than they're used to, and they can't get their they can't get to their main deployment handle. So new wingsuiters have often had trouble deploying. And if you just look at Vigil's save stories from like 2018, so just 1 year, there was all these different entries about people giving their stories about having an AD fire with a wingsuit. So there's 3 right here. It's all kind of the same thing. It's skydiver got ready to pull, couldn't get the main handle, activation during a wingsuit jump, a lot of line twists. So there's all these different things that could happen in a wingsuit, especially a wingsuit jump, especially when you're doing a new jump. So I don't know why someone is proud that they don't use something that could save your life. Another thing that has really reduced the number of fatalities in skydiving and injuries is better emergency procedures. So what happens when shit goes wrong? For example, this is a screenshot from my second cutaway. As you can see, things are not going well. And it's a toggle fire, so you can see that it just popped out. Sometimes it happens. And it happened to get twisted up this time, and I was diving towards the ground at a very high rate of speed. So what did I do? I cut away. So remember your decision tree. Am I confident I can land this canopy? Yes. Okay. Carry on. Fly sexy. No, it's a fucker. Cut that canopy away. So you have until your decision altitude. And if you're not sure at the decision altitude, then it's time to execute your EPs. If you're in diving line twists like this, probably, I'm not going to check my altimeter. I'm just going to okay, I'm not going to get out of this in time. I'm going to cut it away. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that if your canopy's on the horizon, chances are you're not fixing it. People have died trying to fix it. To date, the number of people that have died because they decided to cut away too late or didn't cut away at all, way too fucking many. To date, the number of people that have died because they decided to cut away too fucking early, 0. So the people, if you get spinning diving line twists and you decide to cut away, we don't know of anyone who's passed away doing that. But we've known so many people who have died trying to fix a malfunction. And what we're trying to avoid is thinking. We don't want to think during an emergency like this. That's why we have training. We don't have to we don't want to rig in the sky. Sometimes that's a phrase I love is don't rig in the sky. So if you have a problem and you don't have an immediate solution to it, it's probably best to execute your EPs. So some people again ignore the wisdom of the past. So there was someone on another forum that said it's amateur and pretty much unacceptable to have a sport shop. And that was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. So this is what they said. That's the wrong answer. Unless you're in a deadly G-force range, it's amateur and pretty much unacceptable to ever have a sport chop. There's only 3 reasons why people chop, and they're all preventable: disrespecting pole altitudes, improper gear maintenance, and flying above your level. Now, yeah, you should respect your pole altitudes. You should maintain your gear properly. You should fly at your level. Although, a lot of us we're trying to improve, so we're flying a little bit over our level, and that's fine. That's a normal part of skydiving. But the idea that it's amateur to have and unacceptable to have a sport chop is painfully stupid. So just so we're clear, it is not amateur to cut away a canopy that might kill you, you dumb fuck. This reminds me of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So in 1995, there was a guy that actually robbed 2 banks, and he thought he could get away with it because he knew about the invisible ink thing. If you write a message in lemon juice and you can't see it, and then you put it under some heat, and it will the chemical reaction will make the acidic lemon juice start to appear. They used to use, I think, in the American Revolutionary War. I think that's how they passed information between spies. So he thought if he covered his face in lemon juice, he would be invisible. His face would not be recognizable under camera. And seriously, this is what he did. So he robbed 2 banks, and then they easily caught him because they had the video. And he couldn't believe that anyone caught him because he was just convinced that he was right. You could not convince him otherwise. So that's what that reminds me of. So it is. So this person is Warren Vanderberg. He did a bunch of safety seminars to commercial airline pilots. And one of the things that he was talking about is he gave a demonstration, or he gave a talk about an accident. It was a special type of failure in an airplane. It was a very rare failure, and it only happened a couple of times. And in some cases, it ended up in a fatality for everyone aboard. All souls were lost. And in some cases, the pilots were able to save the day. And the reason, he said, the problem that occurred, everyone in this room could figure out a solution given enough time. But in an emergency, we don't have time. That's why we have training. Don't try to figure out, don't try to kick out of line twists that are diving towards the ground. Don't try to not chop because you think it's amateur to chop, because it's absolutely not amateur to chop. It's amateur not to chop. It is Dunning-Kruger not to chop if you have spinning diving line twists. Depends on, if you pull really high and you've got time, then okay, that's one thing. But if you deploy at your normal altitude and then all of a sudden you're in line twists and they're diving towards the ground, just get rid of it. So he says everyone in this room could figure out a solution, and given enough time, but we don't have time in the sky. When we've got an emergency situation, we have to act, and that's what the training is for. The training comes from previous lessons learned. Too many people have died, and every one of them, I guarantee you, thought that they could get out of those line twists. They had the confidence. And paradoxically, it is more likely that someone with experience will die doing that than someone with not experience. So if you don't have experience and you've got a scary thing above your head, you're going to get rid of it. But if you've kicked out of those diving line twists 5 times or 10 times, you know what? I've got the 11th time. I did it 10 times before, no problem. And then that's how people die. So learn the lessons of the past. And so anyway, the problem that happened was there was like a cable snap in the elevator controls. So the nose would pitch up. And there was a flight crew that had been trained in this specific scenario. What do you do if you lose pitch control? So the nose keeps going up and they can't stop it, and they're going to stall out the airplane. So they learn to do what's called a Dutch roll. So they jam the rudder to the left, they jam the rudder to the right, and they would allow them to weave their way until they could figure out a solution, to buy them some time to work the problem, to work the checklist, because they only had a few seconds. So one crew was able to save the airplane, and another crew, the nose pitched up. They didn't know what to do. They had no training on that, and unfortunately, all souls were lost. So that's why training is so important. That's why procedures are so important. Now, something that can happen as a new skydiver. So, chances are, if you're watching these videos, you're a newer skydiver. That's great to watch videos like this, safety videos, to try to, and that's why I make them, to try to impart these the safety culture. Now, when you've got 50 jumps, everyone looks like a sky god to you. Someone with 200 jumps, someone with 2,000 jumps, someone with 5,000 jumps, someone with 20,000 jumps. They all kind of look the same. And they're all sky gods to you. But as you start getting more experience, you start to realize, okay, so the other person with the same number of jumps as me is a total dipshit. Someone with 2,000 jumps, they're not bad. I've got 2,000 jumps. I think I'm pretty good, but I've certainly got room to improve. There might be someone with 500 jumps 5,000 jumps who's a total blowhard, and then someone who's got 20,000 jumps is a total sky god. And what makes someone a sky god, in my opinion, is a commitment to safety culture, because we're learning from the lessons of the past. So anyway, that is my 15-minute safety day presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining, and stay safe out there. And remember, don't delay, cut away.